Hey guys, welcome to the channel. It's time we evaluate the new 5-star gem, the Blood Flow gem. This is a new gem which straight up increases all your damage, and hence every class can get the benefit from this particular gem. And therefore the big question, is this gem good enough? And if it is good enough, by how much? Yes, we are going to take a look at this gem. We are going to break down this particular gem. I'm going to compare this gem with other damage based gems. And also, if you are new to the channel and if you don't know, there is definitely going to be an Excel sheet, because I believe that is the best way to present the data, and you can do a side-by-side comparison of different gems so that you can evaluate in the best possible way with the most amount of information, right? So the link of the Excel sheet will be in the stamp below. So before I start, in my first impression video, I left the video with two questions. Number one is it a must-have gem for the whales? I said it is probably yes. So we'll see and we'll answer that with numbers. And secondly, should low resonance use this particular gem? Because they are going to use it at rank 4, rank 5, rank 6. So is it good even at that level? So we are going to answer that as well. And the third thing that I'm going to want to talk about is bleed. Bleed is very important to talk about for this particular gem. So I'm going to timestamp that. I'm going to timestamp everything. You can check out that. So yeah, guys, get ready for an in-depth analysis. And yeah, if you appreciate this type of video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. These types of video take a lot of time to make and also a lot of time to prepare for the video. So if you appreciate, make sure you like the video as well. Maybe even consider becoming a member of the channel. There are new stuff coming for the members only very soon. So yeah, without wasting any more time, let's get into the video. So the first thing, let's check out the Blood Flow gem. It says, it is going to increase your damage whenever you are going to do a critical hit. Without critical hit, this gem doesn't do anything. So critical hit is a must. It is going to buff your damage, and with critical hit, you are going to enter into Blood Rage. That is also going to give you critical hit damage. So it is going to do two things: damage buff, critical hit damage buff, right? Two types of damage. Also, whenever you do a critical hit, you are going to bleed the enemy by 10% base damage, right? It is written here. So 10% base damage is actually pretty low, but we'll talk about that, how it is going to scale up and everything. But yeah, it is going to stay the same from rank 1 to rank 10. It is always be 10% bleed, right? And yeah, so these are the numbers. I have put it in a table. At rank 1 to 10, the damage buff is 9, 11, 13, 16, 18, 20. And for critical hit damage, it is 18, 22, 26, 30, 34, 40. And critical hit chance is based on number of enemies. The more number of enemies, bleeding enemies you have, the more critical hit chance you get. So at rank 3, if you have one bleeding enemy, you get 4% critical hit chance. If you have two bleeding enemy, you still get 4 critical hit chance, because that is the highest limit at rank 3, right? So yeah, you get one bleed here, and for rank 5 it is 8, then 12, and then 16. So this is the critical hit chance. So it is a combination of a lot of things: damage, critical hit damage, and critical hit chance. That's why it is not easy to evaluate one-on-one with other gems, and that's why we are going to use the Excel tool, the one which I used in my previous video. If you have not seen that previous video, I highly recommend to watch that previous video of damage comparison of different gems, because we are going to continue with that, and that is the best way, in my opinion, to basically give you the figures for this particular gem. So yeah, let's dive into the Excel sheet. So yeah, we are here in the Excel sheet, guys, and in my previous video, basically I compared some of the top 2-star gems: Crimson Behelit, Spectral Glass, Pain Class, Fervent Fang, and Mourn Skull. And now what we are going to do, we are going to add another gem, Blood Flow. Now, two things. Firstly, these are all very good gems, and within these gems, we are going to rank them. We are going to see who is performing slightly better than the other, right? So yeah, don't worry if you have any of these gems. These are all good choices, in my opinion. Secondly, these are all 2-star, these are 5-star. So you are asking, Sid, how are you comparing one-on-one? So I'll use the impact of resonance at the end of the calculation, and most probably you will see you won't even need to consider resonance, because the gem effect will speak for itself, right? So yeah, let's quick recap. Basically what we are doing is we are assuming a DPS of 10,000 per second. So 10,000 each second you do 10,000 damage. So 10,000, 10,000, 10,000. At the end of 20th second, you're going to do 200k damage. Okay. And when you get a damage buff of 20%, like you get for the blood flow, for the first 10 seconds, you are going to do 12,000 each. And for the next 10 seconds, it is going to stay at 10,000. So this is the part 1 of the gem where you get damage buff. And it is coming to 220. Obviously, it is going to be lower than other gems because this gem has other effects. Other gem only have damage, right? So yeah, it is the lowest among other gems when you see the damage buff. But now we come to the second part where the gem actually shines. This gem also has critical hit damage like I showed you. The critical hit damage at rank 10 is 40% extra damage, right? So yes, we come here. We add critical hits. These are based on your character. You can check on your character. The best way is go to the dummy, hit the dummy, and the first 1 to 10 second, whatever your critical hit chance, just write it here. The next 11 seconds, just write it here, and you will get a multiplier, right? And your critical hit damage also, you are going to write it here. Suppose you have 200. So I'm assuming these numbers, it can be different for everyone because guys, critical hit chance comes from various sources. For example, your gems, Mother's Lament, Roiling, then your gears, then your set items, right? Even your Paragon. So it can be different. Best way is to check on your character sheet. Okay. So these are my critical hit chance number and critical. These are, you can change this, you know, it can be 80 and 40, whatever it is, you just write here. That's why this sheet is very flexible and anyone can personalize it based on the character. Now let's check out blood flow. You have critical hit damage of 200. When you're using blood flow, it becomes to 40, right? 40% more critical hit damage. And your critical hit chance in the first 4 seconds is say 60. With blood flow maybe. So usually it is not going to be +4. That's not how critical hit chance works. For simplicity, I'm just doing +4. Now you are saying why not +16? You need 4 enemies, right? And then you need 4 enemies to bleed. So I don't think so you're going to get a full stack of 16% quite often. So if you want to try it at +8 or +5, you can do that. You can just check, replace the number here, maybe +6, something like that. Whatever you think the right critical hit chance is for blood flow, I think 4 is a good way to analyze this. So I'm going to use 64, right? And yeah, these are my multipliers. So after adding crit multipliers, this is where we are at. Blood flow from last rank, it has become to rank 2. Now you must be wondering, why just rank 2? Is it not better than other gem who is rank 1? It's showing pain clasp, right, with critical hit chance. Here I'll say the difference between this is 444, this and this is 446 for pain clasp. Not a high difference. The resonance is going to cover for this particular difference. Also there's bleed, right? But this is not the end. These days everyone also running armor break, right? Armor break, I'm assuming the highest one from brute talon, from lingering wounds, right? So with armor break, if you put armor break effect, the gem actually has the highest damage as compared to other gem. It is coming rank 1. The next one, that is rank 2, is going to be Morn Skull, and it is pretty much close. But yeah, this one also has resonance benefits and also bleed benefits. So without adding resonance and bleed, the gem effect itself is better than all other 2-star gems. So yeah, this 5-star gem, I don't know why it is written 2-star here. For some reason, I'll correct this. Anyway, this 5-star gem is definitely better than any other 2-star gem. In fact, it's going to be better than Blood Soaked and Bottled Hope. So guys, first verdict for the whales. Is it a must-have for the whales? As you can see in the Excel sheet, yes, it is going to be. There's going to be one exception. You see why it is going to be a one exception? I'll tell you. The critical hit damage, the cap has been increased by only 20% and not 40%. So people who already were at the cap, who had highest critical hit damage, if you use this gem, their critical hit damage buff is not going to be +40. it is going to be plus 20. And once you get only 20% buff, this gem actually is the worst of the lot. That's why if you are already at the peak of critical hit damage and if you add this gem, you are losing out on damage. So for whales, this is one exception. What you can do is when you add this gem, reduce your critical hit damage from other sources and use those magic affixes to change it to maybe damage buff or item based damage increase, skill damage, primary attack damage. Use those magic slots for something else. Don't use it for critical hit damage if you are already at the peak. So these are the two verdicts for the whale. Yeah, pretty much straightforward. This is definitely a whale gem, and rank 8, rank 9, rank 10, you will definitely see an increase in damage if you use this particular gem. So here I'll say if you are ready to cash flow, you are going to get advantage of the blood flow. That's my ending statement for the whales, right? And now for people, moving on to the other part, people who are using it at rank 4, 5, 6. If you see the chart again, at rank 5, the damage buff is 13%, and at the critical hit damage buff is 26%, right? You can change these numbers here in the Excel sheet. I've just used 13%. I'll talk about bleed in a moment. So if 13%, I've just used the numbers. It is coming at 213. And now if you are here, the critical hit chance and damage, you just put your numbers. Here instead of plus 40, it is going to be plus 26, right? This is going to be plus 26, not plus 40, right? And based on these multipliers, you get a number. It is 416. And if you compare it with other 2-star gems, it is nowhere close. No one has 416 except maybe Crimson Behelit. Crimson Behelit is basically a PvP gem. It is still good. It is still good for both, but PvP, it definitely shines in PvP. Anyway, 416 for blood flow at, it is at lower ranks. It is pretty weak here. But you might say I have, armor break. What about armor break? If you add multipliers of armor break, the damage comes to 513 in our tests, and this no one has 523. Everyone is above 540. 540 is the last one. This is by if you have very low attack speed and fervent fang. No one has this. Everyone is above 540. This is 523. So 20,000 below. So you might be wondering about two things. Sid, there is still going to be resonance advantage. Number two, there is going to be bleed, right? So let's talk about bleed first, okay? For someone who has DPS of 10,000, suppose you have a DPS, just take your case, you have DPS of 5 million and you check your bleed, the best bleeds that you have. In a 5 million DPS character, you won't get a bleed, a single bleed of 50,000 or more. It's something close to 1%. It is even less than that. 50,000 is also a very high bleed, right? For per tick. So for 10,000, I'm giving it 100. Just assuming it is going to be 100. It is going to be very, very good. Just assuming, okay? It is not going to be so good, right? And you get bleed. Then you second you get bleed again. Every second you add another bleed tick, and each bleed tick is 3 seconds long, right? So this is what you do. This is how the bleed is going to work. These are the figures for bleed I have put here. 3,000, and if you add crit multipliers and crit damage, it is coming to 7,000. Even after adding these two, this is coming to 423. Not even close to any other gem. So even with the bleed impact, it is not going to be that good. Second thing, you might say about resonance. So at rank 5, you can have these resonance. You can have at 370, 410, 450 or 500 if it is 5 out of 5, right? So is this like basically, is this going to cover up for the loss of damage, loss of resonance? In my opinion, these resonance are not too big of a gap to cover this damage gap, right? I have tested primary attack. Before this, I'm saying this after doing a test. I did a primary attack damage test at 300 resonance, 600 and 900. So if you go into the game, it says it only impacts your equipment based attributes, right? So only your equipment based damage is going to increase, not your overall damage. So your overall damage, equipment based damage, is a very small part of your overall damage. hence that increased resonance from a 300 to 600, it is not going to add a lot of value. Only when the resonance gap is very big, basically at rank 8, 9, 10, then and only you are going to see visible difference. So yeah, the resonance is not going to cover for the low amount of damage, and also the bleed is not going to cover. So there's also another argument that bleed also helps you in other synergies, and that is where I agree with you. The bleed can definitely add other synergies like pain clasp, activating pain clasp, activating banquet of eyes. If you have a dot resolve build, for example, raving silence of necromancer, you resolve all the dots. So in things like that, when all the boxes match up in a very, for a very niche players, maybe this can be useful at lower resonance as well. For someone like necromancer or blood knight, I can see them even use this particular gem because they have bleed. Even barb also have bleed, right? Barbs have bleed, they have bleed, and even the demon hunters, right? So I think, yeah, if you for those classes who have bleed and you want to utilize this for dots and everything, maybe it can be useful at lower ranks, but for most people I don't think so you will see a buff. What you can do is, if anyone have a gem, this just run blood flow and then replace it with Morn Skull or Fervent Fang or something like that. I'm pretty sure the Morn Skull, Fervent Fang and everything are going to give you better damage numbers. So yeah guys, that is the verdict for the lower resonance player. Not a very appealing gem for low resonance. So what I think is, recently we got a lot of 2-star gem that were very good for low resonance, and a lot of whales were also using those 2-star gems. But finally Blizzard were like, we have to give something to the whales as well, because a lot of people were complaining, why is 2-star better than 5 stars? And finally we have a 5-star that is actually better than 2-star, only at the highest ranks, right? So 100% this is a whale gem in my opinion. So I have not seen any other content creators take on this, or any other people's take on this. This is just based on the numbers I have run down, which I usually do, and usually that works, right? And this is my opinion in this particular gem. Still, I'll say it has good value. Like I said, we are comparing it with the other best. So suppose you don't have Morn Skull, right? If you don't have Morn Skull, Fervent Fang, like a lot of people don't have, you can consider using this in your setup. That is what I'll say. Like, I don't have Morn Skull, I don't have that, right? So you can consider this if you get a very good drop, like 4 out of 5, 4 out of 5 blood flow. Maybe you can consider using this in your gem. So yeah. So basically, yeah, if you want to take advantage of blood flow, you need to do some cash flow. Yeah, that is going to be my closing thoughts, right? So I hope this video gave you some information, helped you make some informed decision regarding this gem. If you have any thoughts or comments, or if you found anything, let me know down in the comments below, and I'll try to answer every one of them in the comments. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.